Welcome to our winter pasture, where we're going to talk about how we winter graze our animals and why that's a cost-effective way of managing them and also really good for your land. Another way of managing your cattle is through winter grazing, which is continuing to graze them throughout the winter. Now to do that, you need to have enough land to have enough grass on it to be able to graze them all winter, because of course the grass is not going to grow during the winter. So what we call that is stockpiling. You have separate fields that are set apart that you allow the grass to grow up, generally stop grazing it or baling it around August and allow it to continue to grow out so it gets nice and tall and has enough biomass to be able to support the cows through the winter time. While you'll see the cows having to push through the snow to get to the grass, I can tell you that they're far happier eating green grass than they are dry hay. If we were to put hay out there, they would continue to graze, and only if they couldn't get enough, they'd go over and eat some of the bale or eat some just to take the hunger off and then go back to grazing. In a normal grazing system that is 100% grass-fed, in this part of the country, you're going to need about 1 acre of grass per head per year, and that is just for summertime grazing. If you're going to do wintertime grazing, not only do you need to double that, but you need to go more than doubling that, because in a summertime grazing pattern, that cow's going to hit that acre 3 to 4 times as you're doing your rotational grazing. So typically, you're going to need up to 4 times the amount of land that you have during the summertime in order to get good winter grazing. So there's different ways that you can manage that. In the springtime blush, there's a huge amount of grass, so you can allow your cows to graze a smaller amount because there's so much grass there, and allow the other grasses to stockpile up for in the summertime when it's going to be drier and the grass is not going to be growing as well anyway. So if you take advantage of the spring blush and make sure that your ratio of acres to cows is correct, then it's possible to do that with less than the 4 times the amount of grazing acreage. Allow the cows to graze that spring grass during the spring, let a lot of it stockpile for the summertime, graze it through, and allow other fields that you graze during the springtime to start stockpiling in August and allow them to be the fields that carry them through the wintertime. Now the type of grass that you plant for wintertime grazing is important as well. There's a lot of types of grasses that'll completely die off, and their natural cycle is to take the nutrients that are in their leaves and allow that to trickle back down into the root system. They store those sugars in the roots throughout the wintertime. So those grasses are very poor for winter grazing. It's all just roughage for the cows. What you want is grasses such as tall fescue, orchard grass. The same sort of grasses that do well as a hay crop are going to do well as a winter grazing crop. The benefits of winter grazing are mostly twofold. It is a lot less expensive to winter graze them versus feeding them on hay. And secondly, it's really good for your soil fertility. If I'm going to feed my cattle on hay, there's a number of costs that go into that. Let's say I have enough pasture to do that myself, so I'm going to have to buy all that hay equipment. In today's market, $100,000 will get you used equipment that's still in decent condition, but you're usually far more than that just to purchase that equipment. And then there's the maintenance cost, the diesel on it, the time it takes to go out and bale the hay, the storage to keep the hay. You're always chasing the weather, trying to make sure that you're getting the hay in before it rains, looking for those long heat spells to be able to cut it, let it dry in the field, bale it while it's dry, and get it inside. So a lot of logistics and potential failure points that come with baling hay and storing it for your own animals. Let's say you don't have the acreage or you don't want to go through all that, then you can simply purchase the hay. In today's market, in 2026, a dry hay is going to go at the low end of the market for $60 a round bale. At the high end of the market, more like $100 per round bale, depending on the quality of grass that you're going to get. And typically, as the saying goes, you're going to get what you pay for. Some rough numbers, at let's say an average of $85 per bale, and let's say you have 10 cattle, that's going to cost about $5,000 to feed those cows on just hay throughout the winter months. And that's just talking about round bales. If you're going to feed small square bales, the cost per pound of hay is considerably higher. Generally, about double the cost per pound is what you're going to pay for small square bales versus your large round bales. We've talked about the price that it costs in order to bale your own hay or to purchase hay in for your animals. But then, of course, you've also got the feeding of the animals during the winter time. You've got to get out a machine in order to pick up those large round bales and move them out to wherever those cattle are. You're going to be putting ruts in your pastures as you're driving out there. You're going to have wherever their feeder is getting destroyed by them standing on it all the time. In fact, whatever pasture you put them in, they're going to destroy it because they're going to be in a small area for a long extent extended period of time. So it's going to be nothing but mud by the time the spring rolls around. And then you've got the machinery of having to run that every day. Not only the diesel costs, but when you're running machinery in sub-freezing temperatures, everything fights you. As you'll know if you're a farmer doing that, everything fights you below freezing. So you've got the wear and tear on the machine, which is far higher in the wintertime, as well as the diesel and the time that you have to get out there every single day, or at least every other day, in order to feed them more hay. But then you have the cost to the animal themselves. They're on a small area, they're destroying that area, so you're going to lose that area for the next season. But then on top of it, they're depositing all their manure there, and then they're not moving on like they would in a grazing system. So they're standing on top of their own manure, and very quickly that manure starts to get deep. So then we have another expense. You have to go out and you have to get straw or some other type of substrate to be able to put on top of their manure to absorb that moisture and allow those cows to stand on their manure and not in their manure. That does, of course, have negative side effects to the health of the animal. They're not only standing around their own manure, which then increases the possibility of disease. One very typical thing we used to get when we had cattle in one place was barn itch, which is fleas getting on them and them scratching themselves against the fence posts in the barns and losing large patches of hair throughout the winter time. Now the winter is over. Your cows have been in your barnyard all winter. They've got several feet worth of manure built up that you then have to maintain. Now you have to get in there and you have to shovel that manure out, hopefully with a machine, and you have to do something with all that manure. If you spread it on your fields, at least you're putting some of the nutrients that you've lost over the wintertime back on the pastures that are holding the grass and feeding your animals. But you're not going to get the total effect of that nutrients as if it was deposited directly onto the field right out of the animal. That brings us back to winter grazing. Winter grazing then is going to save you all the cost of having to buy all the hay, the machinery of having to make the hay, the buildings of having to store the hay, the wear and tear on the equipment over the winter time of having to bring the hay out to the animals. So doing it this way, other than the acquisition of the land it takes to do that, is very, very inexpensive. You don't actually have to own that land in order to have enough land to graze during the summer and the winter time. Leasing is a great option, and oftentimes you're going to get far more benefit out of your dollar by leasing land than you are buying that hay. Because if you consider it, if your business is to make hay and you're going to sell hay at $60, $70, $80 per bale, you not only have to have all the equipment and the time and the storage to do that, but you need to have the land in order to get that grass from. In a winter grazing scenario then, the animals are doing your harvesting for you. They are my tractor, they are my baler, they are my storage, they are everything, and it's free to me other than the land cost itself, which I am leasing. Here we are at some leased land that we have, and this ground is actually sat fallow for a number of reasons. Ground might sit fallow because there's nobody currently leased to farm it. It might sit fallow because it's subpar land to be row cropped or even hay cropped. It could be too hilly, too many trees, too hard to get equipment back to in order to properly farm it. Soil fertility may be low and not able to maintain crops the way it needs to. A lot of reasons why you might have land sitting fallow and unused. For us in the regenerative farming sphere, this is a really great opportunity because this is subpar land. It's going to cost us less to be able to lease it, but there's still good plants here to allow our animals to eat them. And then that brings us back to soil fertility. So again, if the animals are not on the pasture throughout the winter time, it's all going into a barnyard, you have to manage all of that. But out here on the pasture in the winter time, my animals are now depositing all of that nutrients directly back onto the soil. Unlike a manure spreader where it's thick on the ground, this is all spread out because they're constantly moving. Then you have the full and complete nutrients that are in that cow patty going directly onto that land with the freeze-thaw cycle that's going to work its way into the land and is mostly going to be gone by the springtime. And even what's left over in the springtime, the earthworms and various bugs are going to be pulling that back down into the soil. What you almost entirely lose in the barnyard scenario is the phosphorus that you're going to gain from their urine going directly back onto the soil. So why do you send a soil test in? What are the things that you're going to be looking for? What does it tell you? It's going to tell you about your nitrogen levels, phosphorus, potassium, calcium. In this winter grazing scenario then, my animals are depositing their manure onto the land, which gives them that nitrogen and phosphorus directly available to the soil. They're urinating on the land, which gives them that high level of nitrogen and potassium. And as you can see, they're going to be trampling all this leftover vegetative matter that they're not eating directly into the soil, which will then decompose, and that's the carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus the soil needs. Additionally, if you put them on subpar acreage like this where there's a lot of standing grass, they're going to be able to trample that back down into the soil as they graze. They're going to take what they want, they're going to trample the rest. This will then help this land look better in the springtime once they've gone over and trampled it. The trampling aspect is something I can't emphasize enough. You might think that the trampling is going to compact the soil, which any farmer knows is a bad thing to have the compacted soil. However, what we see is the way the animal's hoof is designed, it actually stirs the soil. It doesn't compact it, which is a great thing for bringing up seed from the seed bank that's deep under the soil, is that stirring over of the soil during the winter time. When we look at nature, either the Serengeti or more aptly for this environment, Yellowstone National Park, you've got millions of acres and millions of animals surviving on that year-round with no farmers, no intervention. And that is all because of the relationship with the grazing animal and the land that it's been grazing. They're designed to go together, and they work best when they're together year-round, animal on pasture. Winter grazing, you get nutrients right onto your soil to help improve the soil fertility. You save the cost of having to buy hay or make hay and store hay, and the daily chores become very, very easy.